Seu, Goquent Dev Kumar Sunuwar. Nel Inkalseuta, Seupata. Greetings. First of all, on the occasion of International Day of World's Indigenous Peoples, I would like to extend my best wishes to all brothers and sisters from across the world. This year, we are highlighting the role of Indigenous youth in preserving and protecting the rights of Indigenous peoples, especially in the realization of Indigenous peoples' right to self-determinations. The United Nations Declarations on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, which was adopted in the year 2007, is one of the most comprehensive international legal instrument associated with Indigenous peoples, has enshrined a right to self-determination as the fundamental rights of Indigenous peoples. The Article 3 of the UN WIP, or UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, states on the basis of rights of right to self-determinations, Indigenous peoples freely determine their political status and pursue their economic, social, and cultural development, which is established based on the rights of right to self-determinations. Similarly, the declaration also includes several articles related to right to self-determinations. If you look into Article 4, which highlights that Indigenous peoples have a right to autonomy and right to self-government in matters related to their internal and local affairs, as well as the right to have means to finance their autonomous functions. And similarly, the Article 5, 8, 20, and 24 of the UN WIP establishes that Indigenous peoples' right to preserve, strengthen, and develop their own institutions for decision-making and for their own legal, economic, cultural, and social systems. And there is no doubt that young Indigenous peoples play a critical role in decision-making processes of Indigenous peoples, addressing disinformations, including climate change, which disproportionately impact Indigenous peoples, and equally, Indigenous youth play a critical role in the preservations, protections, and promotion of language and the Indigenous cultures. They contribute not only to protecting and transferring the Indigenous knowledge of their elders, but also bringing new ideas and approaches in preserving and protecting them. We also should not forget that Indigenous youth not only are the future, but also are the partners of today. Therefore, we must be able to amplify the voice and the role that Indigenous youth play in this century. When I was young, I myself have actively led the campaigns, and now I have been engaging the youth in each and every campaigns and movement of Indigenous peoples. For example, for the last couple of years, I, together with Sunuwar Welfare Society and umbrella organization of Sunuwar, Indigenous peoples of Nepal, together with Translation Commons, involving young Sunuwar and Sunuwar linguist and activist, we are trying to digitalize the Sunuwar script. And we have a hope to have the Unicode of the Sunuwar script at the end of this year. And together with, we are also making effort to develop a computer fund for Sunuwar script, and also create digital database and also educational resources for learning the script as an effort to advance the International Decade of Indigenous Languages, which started from the year 2022. Therefore, what I believe is the investment on youth today will certainly contribute to the holistic development of the whole society of Indigenous peoples. Therefore, there is a need to introduce some plans and programs to inform young Indigenous peoples about the global, national, and local issues and concerns that affect them and their communities. Because the Indigenous youth can make a louder voice and also raise a greater awareness about the issues and concerns that affect them and their community. And equally, they also can shape the future of their communities. And also, there is a need of a program to empower Indigenous youth by helping them to organize and mobilize them, because the future of right to self-determinations of Indigenous peoples actually depends on the work of Indigenous youth. They are the ones who will carry out the tradition, language, and the cultures of their ancestors. Therefore, we must be able to increase their access and the control over the resources. And we must be able to involve them with their meaningful representations in the governance of all political, social, and cultural institutions. At last, I hope the theme of this year's International Day of World's Indigenous Peoples be able to help inform, involve, and empower Indigenous youth in the larger agenda of Indigenous peoples of the globe. And at last, I would like to thank Translation Commons and UNESCO for this opportunity to speak on the occasion of this year's theme of International Day of World Indigenous Peoples. Thank you. Namaste. Sew.